One man was paid $150,000 a month to keep Michael Jackson alive. One man was in the room when he stopped breathing. And one man chose to hide the evidence before he ever called for help. His name is Conrad Murray, the doctor who killed the king of pop. Conrad Murray was convicted, stripped of his medical licenses, and sent to prison. The world assumed that was the end of his story. It wasn't. Today, Conrad Murray is a free man. He's practicing medicine again. He runs his own institute, and to this day, he insists he did nothing wrong. So how did the doctor blamed for Michael Jackson's death go from a prison cell to running his own clinic? And where exactly is he now? Stick around, because the answer is more surprising than you'd think. If you're into stories like this, hit subscribe before we get into it. To understand where he is now, you have to understand how he got into that bedroom in the first place. Conrad Murray was born in Grenada in 1953 and grew up poor in Trinidad. He clawed his way up, became a cardiologist, and built a career in the United States, opening practices in Texas, Nevada, and California. He was a heart doctor, not an anesthesiologist. Remember that, because it matters. He first crossed paths with Michael Jackson in 2006, after treating one of Jackson's children in Las Vegas. The two struck up a friendship. So when Michael began preparing for his massive This Is It comeback tour in 2009, he personally requested Murray as his private physician. The salary was staggering, $150,000 a month to be one man's personal doctor. For someone whose finances were reportedly shaky, that kind of money is the sort of thing that makes it very, very hard to ever tell your patient no. Now let's talk about how Michael Jackson actually died, because this is the part that sealed Murray's fate. Michael had a brutal, lifelong battle with insomnia. By 2009, he was desperate for sleep, and he'd become convinced that the only thing that could give it to him was propofol. That's a powerful surgical anesthetic, the kind of drug that's supposed to be used only in hospitals by trained anesthesiologists with monitors tracking your every breath, because the line between sleep and death is razor thin. Michael called it his milk, and night after night, Murray was giving it to him in his bedroom. On the night of June 24th, going into the morning of June 25th, Michael couldn't sleep. According to the timeline laid out at trial, Murray spent hours giving him a cocktail of sedatives: Valium, lorazepam, midazolam, one on top of another. Nothing worked. Finally, around 10:40 in the morning, Murray gave in and administered the propofol. Michael drifted off at last. And then, Murray did the unthinkable. He left him alone. There was no proper monitoring equipment hooked up, no alarm to sound if something went wrong. And while Michael Jackson lay unconscious, the drug quietly shutting down his breathing, phone records show Murray was making and taking calls. He was even on the phone with a woman, a cocktail waitress, when she suddenly heard him go quiet, then heard mumbling and coughing on the line. That was the moment Michael Jackson stopped breathing. Here's what turned a tragedy into a crime. When Murray finally realized his patient wasn't breathing, he didn't immediately call 911. According to a bodyguard who rushed in, Murray's first instinct was to start gathering up the propofol vials and IV bags, hiding the evidence before help was ever called. The 911 call didn't go out until 12:21 p.m. By the time paramedics arrived, Michael was already gone. They rushed him to the hospital, where a team fought for over an hour, but it was hopeless. At 2:26 p.m., on June 25, 2009, Michael Jackson was pronounced dead at 50 years old. The coroner ruled it a homicide. The cause: acute propofol intoxication. And the truly heartbreaking part? The autopsy showed Michael's organs were remarkably healthy for his age. He almost certainly would have survived that night if a competent doctor had simply been watching him. The world wanted answers, and the investigation pointed straight at Conrad Murray. He had given a surgical anesthetic in a bedroom with none of the safety equipment that could have saved Michael's life. He'd left his patient alone, and he delayed calling for help while he cleaned up. In 2011, Murray went on trial for involuntary manslaughter. The case against him was damning. The medical board would later sum it up brutally, saying his actions were so grossly negligent, they rose to the level of criminal homicide. There was no oxygen monitoring, no proper resuscitation equipment, no continuous monitoring of his vital signs. Nothing. On November 7, 2011, the jury found him guilty. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison and immediately lost his freedom. His medical licenses in California, Nevada, and Texas were suspended or revoked. The doctor to the stars had lost absolutely everything. But here's the twist. Because of California overcrowding laws, Conrad Murray served less than 2 years of that 4-year sentence. He walked out a free man on October 28, 2013. This is the part most people don't know. After his release, Murray initially spent time in Florida, where reports said he was visiting patients, though he claimed he wasn't charging them or prescribing anything, so he wasn't breaking the law. But rebuilding in America proved nearly impossible. His name was poison, and his licenses were gone. So he went home. Conrad Murray returned to Trinidad and Tobago, the country where he grew up poor, to start over. And he didn't just quietly retire. In May 2023, he opened his own facility, the DCM Medical Institute, in San Juan, Trinidad. It functions as both a medical practice and a training center, with Murray operating as a cardiologist. He said he opened his own place because when he came back, his colleagues saw him as a threat and reportedly wanted nothing to do with him. Today, in his early 70s, Conrad Murray is a free man, running his own medical institute, far from the Hollywood spotlight he once stood in. And perhaps the most striking part of all, he has never accepted blame. Through everything, the conviction, the prison time, the lost licenses, Murray's position has never changed. In his own words, "I am, and I remain, an innocent man." He even wrote a memoir defending himself, and titled it with a chilling lack of self-awareness, after the very tour he was preparing Michael for. This is it. So that's where Conrad Murray is now. Not behind bars, not in hiding, but back in the Caribbean, treating patients, training others, and sleeping soundly with a clear conscience, at least according to him. Michael Jackson's 3 children grew up without their father. The music world lost its greatest performer, and the man a jury held responsible served less time than many people spend in college, before going right back to the profession that it all unfolded in. Whether you see that as a second chance or a slap in the face to Michael's memory, well, that's up to you. So tell me in the comments, do you think Conrad Murray got what he deserved? And if you want more stories like this, hit subscribe, because there's a lot more coming.